Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to AITA Chronicles, where Reddit drama doesn't just get messy, it gets personal. Today's video? It's a full-on emotional roller coaster. No warm-up, no slow burn. We're jumping right into the chaos. We've got a husband who refuses to cover up the goods at a literal family lake house. A meal who crossed every boundary until the writer just straight up moved out. And a gym encounter so uncomfortable it'll make you rethink small talk forever. That's just the start. We're diving into stories about money, marriage, emotional manipulation, parenting meltdowns, and yes, revenge served cold with fries. There's one where a woman had to pee so bad she left her own house just to find a bathroom, and another where someone was told they're selfish for not giving a birthday gift to people who never gave their kids anything. These stories? Brutal. Honest. Unfiltered. Some of them will have you screaming, "Nope, not the asshole." Others, you'll pause and think, wait, am I like that too? So whether you're folding laundry, dodging your own family's drama, or just here for some good old internet justice, grab your snacks, settle in, and let's get into it. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We're pushing for that big 10K milestone, and every single click helps us get there. All right, let's get into these wild, savage, sometimes a little too real, AMI the asshole stories. Am I the asshole? Husband wants to wear extremely revealing swim shorts in public. Let's not sugarcoat this. What we've got here is not just a disagreement about clothing. No, this is a full-blown marital standoff about modesty, respect, self-expression, and, let's just say it, a whole lot of visible penis. The writer, a married man in his 30s, finds himself in a situation that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a painfully awkward sitcom, except it's real life. He and his husband live in a small, conservative, religious town. You know the type, where people still whisper the word sex like it's a curse and think tank tops are scandalous. And yet, here they are, gearing up for lake season. Sun, water, family, good vibes, and his husband's anatomy practically waving hello to the entire lake. Now here's where things get complicated. See, the husband has been grinding at the gym, probably tracking macros, pushing through reps, and sculpting his body into something he feels proud of. And he should feel proud. He wants to show it off, and he's chosen a pair of swim trunks that leave very little to the imagination. The writer describes it in no uncertain terms. You can see everything. The entire outline, the ridges, the length, the shape. It's less swimwear and more softcore advertisement. And the husband, he's into it. He says, if a woman wore a skimpy bikini, no one would say a word. He accuses the writer of slut-shaming, of being repressed, of not celebrating his confidence. But the writer isn't mad that his man looks good. That's not the issue. The issue is that these swim shorts are being worn around his husband's mom and sister, at his mother-in-law's house, a place meant for family gatherings, not adult film auditions. And yet, the husband genuinely doesn't see the issue. He insists his family is sex positive, that they won't care. He's even willing to show them a photo of how the shorts look, yes, a literal bulge preview, to ask for their opinion. The writer is horrified, and rightfully so, because what the hell kind of logic is that? Let's pause and breathe here. This isn't about being repressed. It's about reasonable boundaries. It's about context. Sure, rock the trunks on a private beach at a gay cruise, even a pool party with close friends, go for it. But when your entire penis outline is visible, maybe, just maybe, leave mom and sis out of it. The writer is standing his ground, but also starting to question himself. He's asking the internet, am I the asshole for finding this deeply uncomfortable? For not wanting his husband's business on full display in front of family? For saying, hey, I love you, but maybe don't bring the porn star look to your mom's doc? Because the moment he tried to talk about his discomfort, it got flipped. Now, he's the bad guy, the killjoy, the uptight one. Let's be real here. If you can see the shaft, that's not swimwear anymore. That's softcore. This whole situation boils down to two truths clashing hard. One, the husband wants to celebrate his confidence and body. Fair. Two, the writer doesn't want his husband's genitals being a centerpiece of family lake day. Also fair. This isn't about shame. It's about setting and respect. You can look sexy without looking X-rated. And when your partner says, hey, I'm uncomfortable, you don't double down and call them repressed. You listen. So no, writer, you are not the asshole. You're the one holding the last thread of common sense, while everyone else is ready to let it all hang out. Literally. Am I the asshole for moving into a studio apartment away from my mother-in-law who moved in? This one's heavy. We're not talking about some simple roommate squabble or one bad holiday dinner with in-laws. We're talking about the kind of situation that quietly destroys your peace, tears at your relationship, and makes you feel like you're losing control in your own home. The writer had a plan, a line, a boundary. She lives with her boyfriend in an apartment, their shared space, their little piece of independence. Then comes the wrecking ball. Her boyfriend's mother needs a place to stay. Why? Because her other son, the chaos incarnate, got them evicted by stealing her car and crashing it into their damn apartment, nearly killing someone in the process. That's not just a red flag, that's a screaming siren. So now, mom's got nowhere to go, and she moves in with the writer and her boyfriend. And look, the writer didn't say no. She didn't slam the door in her face. She sat down and made a plan. A logical, firm, necessary set of boundaries. If she moves in, she cuts off contact with the brother. No visits, no enabling, no backsliding, period. That wasn't cruelty, that was survival. You can't set a bomb on the table and pretend it's a vase. That man was dangerous, and the writer saw it. She was trying to keep their home safe and sane. Her boyfriend agreed. His mom agreed. The deal was made. But then, 2 weeks in, the writer comes home from work and walks into what feels like betrayal dressed in laughter. Golden Corral. That's where they went. Her boyfriend and his mom took the brother out to eat. And not just that, they sat there watching him nod off into his plate, high out of his mind, like it was some twisted dinner theater. That moment, that wasn't just a broken rule. It was a slap in the face. A loud, echoing message. Your voice doesn't matter here. She felt betrayed, not just by the mother-in-law, but by the person who was supposed to have her back. And her boyfriend, he didn't even tell her he changed his mind. No heads up, no adult conversation, just a quiet rewrite of their agreement, like her rules were nothing more than a suggestion on a sticky note. When she called it out, rightfully so, he hit her with the guilt card. Putting her on the street is too harsh. But isn't that the point? Actions have consequences. Especially when those actions could put everyone at risk. Because let's not forget, the brothers' chaos got an entire family evicted. There are real stakes here, and now things are spiraling. This woman, this mother-in-law, this guest who pays zero rent, is now telling the writer and her boyfriend to do her chores. Like she owns the place. Like she's owed something just for existing. She's pushing every boundary because she knows, deep down, there will be no consequences. Why? Because her son, the writer's boyfriend, is paralyzed by guilt, held hostage by emotional baggage that's been weighing him down for years, and when the lease ends, she's already assuming she's going with them. She even said it out loud, so where are we moving to? We. Like this is permanent. Like she's been granted a free ride for life. No job, no rent, no accountability, just manipulation and a warm bed funded by someone else's sanity. And here's the brutal truth. The writer knows her boyfriend will cave. Maybe not the first week, but he'll fold. The guilt will eat him alive, and she'll be back, bags in hand, just like before, and nothing will change. So now the writer's thinking about escape. Not out of pettiness, not out of cruelty, but out of sheer self-preservation. A studio apartment, her own space. A place where she's not walking on eggshells or watching her boundaries crumble like stale crackers. But the reaction? Now she's being painted as the villain. As if she's the one blowing up the relationship, as if protecting your mental health is somehow betrayal. So, am I the asshole for wanting to move into a studio apartment away from my mother-in-law? Let's be real here. You are not the asshole. You were the only one acting like an adult in that apartment. You laid down clear boundaries, you communicated, you protected your space. And when those lines were crossed, you didn't scream, you didn't lose it. You reflected. And you made a decision for yourself. That's not selfish. That's survival. And let's not forget, you didn't put this woman on the street. Her son did. Every time he chooses his guilt over your well-being, he makes that call. Every time he avoids hard choices, he's pushing you closer to the edge. You didn't dismantle the relationship. He did the second he threw out the agreement you both built and decided your boundaries were optional. You're not running from the relationship. You're running from a situation that refuses to grow up. And if someone tries to guilt trip you for saving your own sanity, let them feel the weight of the decisions they made. You're not the villain. You're just the only one willing to face the truth. Move into the studio, decorate it how you like, lock the door, and breathe. Because sometimes peace doesn't come wrapped in love. Sometimes peace is the silence that finally returns after you've walked away from people who refuse to hear you. AITA for shutting someone down when they tried to talk to me at the gym. Let's talk about the gym. For a lot of people, it's just a place to get fit. But for the writer, it's a sanctuary, a space carved out of chaos where she can just be no small talk, no social expectations, no pretending. Just her, the music in her headphones, and the grind. She doesn't go there to mingle. She doesn't go there for validation or connection. She goes there to get in the zone, stoned as hell, locked into her routine, laser focused. She's not rude, she's not cold, she's just clear. This is her time. So last week, after finishing a workout, the writer walks over to the taco carts near her gym, headphones out, just trying to grab food and go. Then, here he comes. Some dude, 40s, random, says he goes to the same gym. She's never seen him before. He's chatty. Too chatty. Insists on walking with her. And look, she's not looking for drama. She gives him polite small talk, gets through it, exits quickly. That should have been it, right? But no. That man saw a window and he wanted in. Next gym visit, the writer's on the floor, foam rolling, headphones in, eyes clearly avoiding contact. And here comes taco cart guy, straight toward her like he's been waiting for this moment. He crouches down, invades the little space she has, and throws out a fist bump like they're old friends. She gives a quick, non-committal acknowledgement, doesn't reciprocate, doesn't engage, doesn't make a scene, just makes it clear without words. Not interested. And still, he doesn't get the picture. Fast forward to the next visit. She sees him, he sees her. She avoids eye contact again, and for a second she thinks, maybe he finally gets it. But no. Mid-leg lifts, mid-freaking set, here he comes. Again, another fist bump, like he's earned space in her world just by existing nearby. That's it. That's when the writer takes out her headphones and lays it down. No fluff, no apologies, just the truth. Look, man, I don't want to do this. I'm here to work out. I'm not here to make friends. I don't want to talk to you, okay? And when he starts with, I was just saying hi, like that somehow makes it okay, she doubles down. Yeah, I get it. Please don't. Then she puts her headphones back in, back to the grind, like the conversation never even happened. And here's the thing. Sure, maybe people watching from a distance thought she was being cold. Maybe some thought she was the bad guy. But she's not. She just knows what she wants, and more importantly, what she doesn't. That's not a crime. Now, let's hit pause for a second and talk about how exhausting it is to have to constantly justify boundaries. Just because someone says hi doesn't mean you owe them your time. Just because someone's friendly doesn't mean their intentions are harmless. It's not about being mean. It's about being safe, being in control of your space. And the writer, she's earned her solitude. She's not there to perform politeness for someone else's ego. But if you thought that was it, nah, there's more. She shared something else, something that hits even harder. A while back, same gym, she's deep in a bicep curl set, eyes closed, completely focused. That sacred moment where it's just you and the weight. And when she opens her eyes, there's a man's face 3 inches from hers. He says nothing, just stares. So she pulls out a headphone and asks, "What the f-?" And what does he do? He grabs her arms, shoves them back onto the machine, and says, "One more," like he's her damn coach, like she somehow invited him into her workout. She snaps, rightfully. "Who the f do you think you are?" He gets defensive, says he wanted to use the machine, tries to brush it off, but she's shaken, and that's the part no one talks about. how something small can make you feel unsafe, how being interrupted in a vulnerable moment can hit like a punch. Another man nearby sees it happen, comes over, says, "You really shouldn't have to put up with that." And yeah, it's nice. But here's the real question the writer asks. Why do so many men choose to comfort a woman after something happens, instead of calling out the man causing it in the moment? It's easier to offer sympathy than confrontation. Easier to say, "That sucked," than, "Hey man, back off." But comfort doesn't fix what happened, it just smooths it over. That's what the writer wants us to sit with. So, is she the asshole for setting a boundary? For telling a man no when his persistence crossed a line? Absolutely not. She didn't scream, she didn't insult him. She just said clearly and directly, "Leave me alone." And if someone can't handle a no that's simple, that calm, that respectful, that's not her problem. It's not a dating story. It's not about rejection. It's about space, about safety, about the right to move through the world without being approached, interrupted, or made to feel like you're supposed to be nice just because someone's friendly. She wasn't mean. She was honest. And honesty is not a crime. So no, you are not the asshole. You're someone who refused to let a stranger steal your peace. And for that, you should be damn proud. Am I the asshole for refusing to keep paying black tax even though my family is struggling? Let's talk about black tax for a second. Not the polite academic definition you find in think pieces. I'm talking about the lived reality, the phone buzzing on payday, the silent expectation that your salary is a communal pot, the pride of being the one who made it, twisted into an open tab you never asked to run. It's tradition, yes, but sometimes tradition feels a lot like chains disguised as culture. And standing in the middle of that tug of war is the writer, a 28-year-old African woman balancing chalk dust and lesson plans by day, financial firefighting by night. She's a teacher, not rolling in cash, but steady enough to breathe, if breathing didn't cost extra. Because ever since she landed that first paycheck, her income became a family hotline. Groceries for aunties, cousins' school fees, monthly allowance for mom, emergency cash for a brother's urgent car repair. And now, a cousin's wedding wants its slice of the pie. At first, writer paid with a smile. Culture, right? We lift each other up. But lately, the smile has calcified into something brittle. The calls come faster than the salary hits. Requests aren't requests. They're bullet points on a shared spreadsheet she never signed off on. And the family? They're living nicer. New phones, fresh kicks, while writer scrolls rental listings, wondering if she'll ever afford her own space. So she does the unthinkable. She says no. "I'm not a bank. I'll cover needs, not wants. I'm saving for therapy, travel, a deposit on my own apartment. I can't keep bleeding for everyone else." Her mom's eyes fill, tears roll. The room hums with disappointment thicker than smoke. An aunt hisses that she's whitewashed. Her brother calls her selfish, says she's forgotten where she came from, like sacrifice is the only proof of memory. Pause. Let that irony simmer, because writer remembers exactly where she came from. She remembers patching school shoes so a cousin could have brand new ones. She remembers skipping dates, skipping dreams so the family fridge stayed stocked. She remembers those same relatives flexing selfies in designer shirts she unintentionally financed. She's carried them this far, but they mistake her endurance for infinite fuel. So here's the real question. Is she the villain for finally choosing herself? Because culture without boundaries becomes exploitation. Generosity without reciprocity becomes erosion. And writer? She's eroded down to overdraft fees and quiet resentment. She's not refusing family. She's refusing entitlement, and if that makes her whitewashed, maybe the label says more about them than her. Maybe being African shouldn't equate to self-sacrifice until burnout. Maybe loving your people sometimes means teaching them to stand, not leaning harder. So, am I the asshole for choosing myself? Or am I just the first one brave enough to say, help isn't a lifetime subscription, you've got to renew it with responsibility? Writer, here's the truth. You are not an ATM with a heartbeat. You are a teacher, a daughter, a sister, yes, but also a woman who deserves to build her own future. If they call you selfish for setting boundaries, wear it like armor. Boundaries aren't walls, they're load limits. A bridge collapses when the weight exceeds the rating. Let them learn to carry their own bags. You've earned the right to walk a little lighter. If this story hit home, if you've ever felt the weight of invisible invoices, drop a comment, smash that like, and hit subscribe. Because somewhere out there, a new paycheck just landed, and another little request is already dialing. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep breaking the cycle. Would I be the asshole if I give my daughter an outdated name? All right, so picture this. The writer is 32 years old, 7 months pregnant, and she's just gotten the news. It's going to be a girl. That moment hits different. It's not just excitement, it's emotional, it's real. The baby isn't some abstract idea anymore. She's on her way. And with that realization comes one of the biggest choices a parent has to make before their child even opens her eyes: the name. Now, choosing a baby name? That's not some checklist item. It's personal. It's intimate. It's one of the first gifts you ever give your child. It's a name they'll carry their entire life. So the writer and her husband take their time. They think it over, they talk, they visualize their little girl growing up, and finally, they land on a name: Audrey. Classic, strong, graceful, a name with legacy, a name with softness and strength, a name that has stood the test of time. But apparently, not everyone in the room agreed. They announced the name at the baby shower, thinking this is a celebration, a moment to share something sacred with the people they love. But instead of joy, instead of support, one of the writer's own sisters decides to run her mouth. And I mean, really run it. She calls the name outdated, like Audrey somehow belongs to the dusty attic of names. Then she goes further, says the baby will get bullied for it. Let's pause for a second. Bullied? For being named Audrey? We're not talking about naming your kid X-Dragon Slayer 420X. This is Audrey. Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Tautou. Audrey freaking royalty. It's elegant. It's timeless. It's not some experimental alphabet soup. And the kicker? The same sister who's coming for Audrey wanted to name her own daughter Ashley, spelled like a Wi-Fi password pronounced Ashley, before her own husband had to shut that down. You can't make this stuff up. But the writer? She stays chill for a while. She lets the comments slide, brushes it off at first. But her sister keeps going, comment after comment, undermining, nitpicking, acting like this is her baby to name. It gets to the point where the writer, at her own baby shower, has had enough. She kicks her sister out, rightfully so. Because how are you going to stand in someone else's moment, someone else's celebration of new life, and turn it into a roast session? But it doesn't stop there. The sister takes it to social media. She starts messaging, harassing, begging the writer to change the name, obsessively, like she's on some holy crusade to rename someone else's child. So the writer does what any sane person would do: block. She cuts her off. No more energy wasted. But now, sitting in the aftermath of all that drama, she starts second-guessing, starts wondering, would I be the asshole if I stick to the name Audrey? Let me be blunt here. No, you would not be the asshole. Not even a little bit. Not even in the slightest. You'd be a mom choosing a beautiful, meaningful name for your child and doing it with love. What's actually outrageous is the entitlement of that sister, thinking she gets a vote in someone else's naming process, acting like she's the parenting police. That's not concern, that's control. And let's talk about this bullying nonsense. Kids don't get bullied for having timeless names like Audrey. They get bullied when adults around them project insecurity and bitterness into the world. If anyone's acting outdated, it's the sister. Audrey isn't the problem. Audrey is poised. Audrey walks into a room like she belongs there. Audrey doesn't need sparkles or unnecessary letters to shine. Let's be real. This isn't about a name. This is about control, about someone feeling like they're not in the spotlight, so they have to dim yours. But this moment, this pregnancy, this name, it's not hers to touch. So if you're out there wondering if choosing the name Audrey makes you an asshole, you are not the asshole. You're a mother naming her daughter something powerful, elegant, and full of identity. Let that name live. Let it grow. Let it become something. Audrey is going to write her own story, and she deserves to do it without the shadow of someone else's ego hanging over her first breath. You go with Audrey. Say it for anyone who doesn't like it. Well, they can go name their baby Ashley. Would I be the asshole if I had told my husband his sleep boundaries went out the window when he had our son? All right, let's get into this, because this isn't just a parenting disagreement or a scheduling issue. This is one of those slow building, tension packed situations where resentment brews quietly under the surface until someone finally says, enough is enough. The writer is a 28-year-old mom, and she's not just a mom in the abstract, oh, I have a kid sense. No, she had her baby in January. She's in the thick of it. Diapers, unpredictable sleep, cluster feeds, and crying fits at 3 a.m. That raw, disorienting haze of new parenthood, where every hour feels like a battle and peace is earned in 10-minute stretches of silence. And her husband, let's call him Brad, also 28, diagnosed with autism and ADHD, which, let's be clear, does affect things. Communication, sensory needs, routine, those are all important. The writer knows that. She acknowledges it, she respects it, she even bends her own life around it, because that's what you do when you're in a partnership. But let's also not pretend that this is a one-way street. Now, Brad works 50% capacity. The rest is covered by temporary health insurance. It's unstable, it's stressful, and that's not lost on the writer. In fact, instead of taking a full year of maternity leave, she let him take most of it so they could brace themselves financially in case that coverage gets denied. That's a big deal. That meant the writer had to go back to work while still breastfeeding, still being the default parent, still managing the unpredictability of a newborn. She teaches from home and not in a cushy 9-to-5 setup. We're talking flexible hours, international students, and a schedule that includes teaching at 11 p.m. twice a week. She works while exhausted, while her body is still recovering, while navigating life with a baby on her hip. And here's where it gets real messy. Brad had one ask: no students after midnight. Fine, totally reasonable. But then he switches it up. Now his new non-negotiable bedtime is 11 p.m. on the dot. Not a suggestion, not a goal, a hard boundary, as if babies read clocks, as if infants give a single damn about adult schedules. The writer does her part. She tries to put the baby to sleep before 11. She warns him in advance. She's open, transparent, cooperative. But the baby, as babies do, wakes up. And Brad, after making it clear that he was off the clock, ends up walking the baby around the apartment. Then the next morning comes, and instead of a, hey, last night was rough, but we got through it, Brad gives her the cold shoulder, doesn't hug her goodbye, acts like she broke some sacred vow. And then comes the kicker. You crossed my boundary. My bedtime is 11. We discussed this. Anything past that is your problem to solve. Let's stop right there, because this isn't about boundaries anymore. This is about abdicating responsibility as a parent. You don't get to look at your partner and say, after this time, I'm no longer a parent. You don't get to clock out from fatherhood like it's a part-time gig. You made a baby. That means you both signed up for sleepless nights, for midnight meltdowns, for the absolute chaos of raising a human being. And while yes, autism and ADHD make certain things harder, especially around routine and overstimulation, parenthood doesn't make exceptions. There's no neurodivergent clause that exempts someone from caring for their child. The writer is over here juggling work, breastfeeding, bedtime, nighttime teaching, and an unstable financial situation. And Brad is treating sleep like it's a constitutional right that she's infringing on. So now she's asking the big question: would I be the asshole if I told him his sleep boundaries went out the window when we had a baby? Let's say this as clearly as possible. No, you would not be the asshole. You'd be a mother speaking the truth that your partner refuses to acknowledge, that parenting is messy, exhausting, and inconvenient, and sometimes your boundaries have to bend because there's a child crying at 11:07 p.m. who needs one of you to show up. This isn't a call to throw his neurodivergence out the window. This isn't about blaming. This is about partnership, about equity, about showing up for each other when things are hard, not when it's convenient or scheduled or emotionally regulated. Because here's the raw truth. The writer didn't cross a line. She picked up the slack, again, quietly, exhaustedly, lovingly. And Brad, he made the baby her problem, not theirs, hers. So would you be the asshole for telling him that in parenthood, some boundaries don't get honored every time? No. You'd be honest. You'd be real. You'd be tired, but right. And if Brad wants to talk about boundaries, maybe it's time he learns what partnership really means. It means you don't just shut down and walk away when things get inconvenient. It means you don't let your wife drown in exhaustion because your clock hit 11 p.m. He can have boundaries, but he can't have them at your expense every single time. You are not the asshole. You're a mom doing everything she can while someone else pretends parenting comes with blackout hours. It doesn't. So let him know, lovingly, calmly, but clearly, that fatherhood didn't clock out when the baby was born. It clocked in for both of you. AITA for telling my bill he needs to book a hotel when he and my sister were staying at my house. So here's the setup. The writer lives in a modest 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. Not a mansion, not a palace, just a cozy space. Functional, lived in, and most importantly, hers. Then one day she gets word. Her sister and brother-in-law are coming to visit. Cross-country travelers, staying for a full week. Now let's be honest. Hosting family can be a beautiful thing, but only if everyone remembers it's a shared space, not a luxury resort. The writer, being thoughtful, clears out her home office, sets up a bed, and gives up her peace and privacy to make this work. Hospitality was never the problem. The bathroom, however, that's where everything went to hell. Right out of the gate, it's clear something's off. Her brother-in-law, let's just say this man, moves into the bathroom. We're not talking 15, 20 minutes. We're talking hours. It's like he's claiming it as his own private sanctuary, locking the rest of the household out as if he's paying rent on it. By the end of day one, the writer pulls her sister aside. She's not rude, not confrontational, just trying to understand what's going on. That's when she learns he has a condition. All right, fair enough. Medical needs are real, so the writer backs off. She gives them grace. She tries to be patient. But that patience, it runs out by day 3. Why? Because she's had to leave her own home twice just to find a store where she can use the bathroom like a stranger in her own life. Imagine that, needing to relieve yourself so badly that you grab your keys, get in your car, and drive off because your own bathroom is being held hostage. And then comes the breaking point, 4 a.m., the kind of early morning where your body doesn't ask, it demands. The writer wakes up in absolute urgency. She shuffles to the bathroom only to find, of course, he's in there again. She knocks, politely, says she really has to go. He responds, "I'll be out in a minute." A minute? No, not even close. He stays in there for an hour. That's not just inconvenient. That's borderline cruel. And the writer, with nowhere to go and nothing open nearby, she ends up doing something humiliating. Something no adult should ever be forced into just because they can't access their own bathroom in their own house. She doesn't say exactly what it was, but just imagine the kind of desperation it takes to do something like that. The next morning, she's done playing nice. She tells them straight up, he needs to get a hotel. This isn't sustainable, this isn't respectful, and frankly, this isn't okay. She even points out that she also has a condition, but she plans around it. She makes sure she doesn't inconvenience others when she travels. Why can't her BIL do the same? But instead of hearing her out, her sister and BIL go on the attack. They throw around the word ableist. They try to guilt trip her, telling her she could have held it. Let's be clear, this wasn't a petty complaint. This wasn't about a long shower or a late night flush. This was about a guest treating a shared resource like private property. About a host being stripped of her most basic dignity in her own home. And when the writer laid out exactly what she had to endure the night before, they dismissed it, minimized it. That's when she'd had enough. She told them to pack up and find a hotel or stay with other family, just not with her. Not like this. So now she's left wondering, am I the asshole for kicking them out before the week was over? No, you are not the asshole. You are a human being with basic needs and boundaries. You opened your home, you tried to accommodate, you gave grace when it wasn't owed, but your bile didn't just overstay his welcome. He violated your personal space, repeatedly and with zero remorse. Having a medical condition doesn't give someone the right to completely ignore everyone else's needs. It's not ableist to say, this setup doesn't work for me anymore. It's realistic. It's honest. And let's be raw about it. Being forced to soil yourself or come close to it because someone can't give up the bathroom for an hour at 4 a.m., that's not just uncomfortable. That's traumatizing. The fact they tried to gaslight you and make you feel bad about it afterward, that speaks volumes. Guests should never expect free lodging if it comes at the cost of their host's basic human dignity. So no, you're not the asshole. You're just someone who finally hit their limit. And frankly, it's about damn time. Am I the asshole for calling out my sister-in-law for using her children to emotionally manipulate me into going to dinner now instead of waiting 45 minutes? This one's not about food. It's not about the coupon. It's not even about hungry kids. This is about control and how some people will use whatever they have, even their own children, to get what they want. Let's set the scene. The writer, 32, and their spouse, 29, are hosting family. Parents, sister-in-law, kids, nothing fancy, just some casual family time. There's chalk art with the kids, catching up on the patio, and snacks, light stuff. The kind of afternoon hangout that starts chill and ends with dinner. Now, the writer isn't just hosting, they're paying. That's important, because this isn't let's split the bill energy. This is we invited you and we're covering the whole dinner energy. And not a cheap dinner either. We're talking $75 without a discount. But the writer has a coupon that drops it down to under $75 if they just wait until 6. That's $100 difference. That's not small change. That's groceries. That's gas. That's being responsible. So when the sister-in-law wants to go to dinner at 5:15, the writer suggests, very reasonably, let's just wait 45 minutes. We'll save a ton. The sister-in-law doesn't like it, but fine. She leaves, maybe stewing, maybe scheming, and that's when it gets dirty. Not 5 minutes later, the kids, who were fine, laughing, coloring with chalk, suddenly come waddling up, dramatically clutching their stomachs, whining, "I'm so hungry." Not subtle, not even clever. It's straight up emotional warfare, dressed up in kid clothes. A staged hunger strike from toddlers who 2 seconds ago were giggling in sidewalk dust. And here's the thing, everyone else falls for it. The parents start packing up. Sister-in-law acts like it's settled. Everyone's hungry, let's go. Like she didn't just puppet master her kids into doing her bidding. Like the $100 savings meant nothing compared to the fake moans of starving children who just had snacks an hour ago. The writer, they're pissed, and rightfully so, because this isn't just an inconvenience, it's a manipulation, and it reeks. So the writer turns to the sister-in-law, calmly but clearly, and says, "Using your children to emotionally manipulate people into getting your way is pathetic." Boom. Mic drop. Of course, she lashes out. Classic deflection. If you couldn't afford to pay for dinner, you shouldn't have offered. Oh, now it's about money? Now it's suddenly a shame game because someone dared to try and save $100? Let's talk about that. The writer wasn't being cheap. They weren't trying to back out. They offered dinner. They just wanted to use a deal. A coupon. Literally a 45-minute delay to cut the bill in half. That's not being stingy, that's being smart. But instead of helping make that decision easier, the sister-in-law pulled a move straight out of the manipulator's playbook. Weaponize the kids. Turn their whining into guilt. Make the writer look like the heartless one for suggesting a wait while pretending the kids are wasting away. Let's be real here. This isn't about hangry kids. This is about a grown woman who didn't want to wait and wasn't getting her way, so she used her kids to guilt her hosts, who were paying for the meal, into folding. And when called out, she twisted it into "you can't afford it." It's low, it's messy, and it's not about food at all. It's about power. The writer didn't insult her, they didn't scream, they just told the truth. A sharp, uncomfortable truth, but truth nonetheless. And now they're left wondering, am I the asshole? Absolutely not. You don't get to be gaslit, guilted, and manipulated in your own home while paying for dinner and then be told you're the problem because you stood up for yourself. You didn't lose your cool, you didn't cuss her out, you called it what it was. Pathetic, because it was. People always say family helps each other out, but the second it means being patient or saving money or waiting 45 freaking minutes, suddenly it's drama. Let her sulk, let her spin it however she wants. Because at the end of the day, the only one acting like a child wasn't the kid. It was the adult pulling the strings behind them. And that deserves to be called out. You're not the asshole. You're the one who finally said what everyone else was too polite or too scared to admit. Am I the asshole for telling my friend she's in the same league as men she calls ugly? Let's get one thing straight. Dating apps, they're brutal. They turn people into a deck of cards. Swipe left, swipe right, discard, keep, judge, reject. It's fast, it's shallow, and sometimes it brings out the absolute worst in people. And that's where this story starts. The writer's friend, 19 years old, downloads Tinder and Hinge for the first time. She's one of those people who constantly talks about wanting love, wanting a relationship, wanting someone to hold her hand at the farmer's market and binge Netflix with on a rainy day. You know the type. Chronically single, constantly yearning, always manifesting the one. And let's be honest here, the writer's not hating. She actually thinks her friend is normal. Not model level hot, not hideous, just average. A regular girl with a decent smile, probably has a favorite pair of jeans and too many Pinterest boards about dream weddings. So what happens when this girl finally enters the jungle of online dating? She gets angry. Not hurt, not confused. Angry. She starts ranting about how all the men are ugly, how they're too short, how none of them are hot. She's swiping left on everyone like she's casting out demons, one after another. Nope, you, short, gross, too boring, too bald, too real. Just pure disgust. And the writer's sitting there like, wait a damn minute. Because this girl's acting like she's Rihanna, trapped in an episode of The Bachelor, surrounded by peasants. So the writer asks a simple question. Can I see the guys you're rejecting? And when she does, it's just regular dudes. Normal guys, moderately attractive, some cute, some average, none of them monsters. Literally in her league, not beneath her, not tragic, just human beings with flaws, the same way we all have flaws. So the writer decides to speak up, not to insult, not to drag, but to ground her friend in some reality. She says, these guys are in your league. You should give some of them a chance. You're always saying you want a relationship. And suddenly, that truth doesn't land well. Her friend snaps. Hard. She denies it, says she's much more attractive than these guys. Like aggressively so. As if she's starring in her own delusion and everyone else is a background character. That's when the writer hits her with the reality check. The one that stings, but damn, someone needed to say it. You don't match with the guys you do find attractive. So maybe you're not in their league. Boom. That's it. That's the moment. And you can guess what came next. The friend calls the writer an asshole, offended, defensive, probably pouting and thinking about making a cryptic Instagram story about fake friends. So now the writer's left wondering, am I the asshole? Let's make this real clear. No, you are not the asshole. You're the only one who had the guts to be honest. To look someone in the eye and tell them that their standards don't match reality. That swiping left on every single person who isn't a male model while calling yourself a catch doesn't mean you're confident, it means you're delusional. And here's the part no one wants to say out loud. Attraction works both ways. You don't get to sit on a throne made of Instagram filters and tell the world you deserve a man who looks like Chris Evans, makes 6 figures, cooks, texts back in 2 seconds, has emotional intelligence, and also owns a dog and a cabin in the woods. You don't get to roll your eyes at everyone who actually matches you and then cry into your phone about being single like it's some injustice. The writer didn't say she was ugly. She didn't say she wasn't worthy of love. What she said, very calmly, was that maybe, just maybe, it's time to check your ego and stop acting like the dating pool is beneath you when you're drowning in it. And let's be honest, this whole league thing, it's toxic. But it exists because people make it exist. And if you constantly say others aren't in your league, guess what? You're playing the same game you claim to hate. The writer didn't shame her friend. She gave her a mirror. She said, look, this is what's happening. If you really want love, you've got to come back to Earth. That's not cruelty, that's friendship, the uncomfortable kind. The kind that says what needs to be said instead of what feels good in the moment. So no, you're not the asshole. You're just tired of watching someone sabotage themselves and blame the world for it. And if she can't handle a little truth now, she's really not ready for the heartbreaks that come when she keeps chasing a fantasy and missing out on the real, decent human love that was right there all along. Let her pout. You spoke facts. And facts don't always feel good, but they're still the truth. Am I the asshole for not bringing gifts to my nephews? Birthdays because they never give my kids anything? All right, let's stop pretending this is just about birthday gifts. This is about respect, about reciprocity, about that invisible tally most people pretend they don't keep, but deep down, you know, we all do. The writer is a 34-year-old mom of two, and for years, not just once or twice, but consistently, she's done what we all feel is right in a family. Shown up, supported, celebrated. Every birthday party for her nephews, she was there, gifts in hand, smiles on, no complaints. But behind the politeness, something's been simmering, because when her kids' birthdays roll around, crickets. No happy birthday, no card, no gift, not even a damn balloon. And it's not just the kids forgetting, it's the parents, the writer's own brother and sister-in-law, two people who treat her and her children like background noise at best, cold, dismissive, like they're just checking a box by being family. So let's call it what it is, a one-sided relationship, dressed up as tradition. This year, the writer finally said, enough. She didn't make a dramatic scene, she didn't skip the party, she still showed up. But this time, no gift, just her presence. And honestly, after how she's been treated, that alone was generous. But, of course, the backlash came fast and loud. Texts flooded in, not from the brother or sister-in-law, by the way, but from the parents, the grandparents, the family peanut gallery who never had anything to say when her kids were being ignored, but now suddenly had opinions. You don't punish kids for adult problems. Oh, now the kids matter? Where was that energy when her own children were being completely overlooked? When their birthdays came and went like just another Tuesday while everyone smiled and clapped at her nephew's parties? Let's stop pretending this is about children. Because if anyone is punishing kids here, it was already happening. Every time the writer's children were made to feel invisible in their own damn family. What people don't want to admit is this. Gifts mean something. They say, you matter. I thought of you. I showed up for you. So after years of her kids not mattering to this side of the family, the writer made a quiet decision. If it's not mutual, I'm done pretending. And the silence, the disregard, that was fine with everyone until she stopped giving. That's when suddenly everyone had something to say. It's the classic family hypocrisy. Be quiet, be generous, be the bigger person until you stop. Then suddenly you're the selfish one. Let's be real. The writer didn't weaponize her absence of a gift. She just got tired of being the only one bringing anything to the table and finally pulled her chair back. That's not petty. That's self-respect. Would it be ideal if every adult acted mature and didn't let grudges affect the kids? Sure, but this isn't about a single misstep. This is about patterns, repeated disregard, the kind that chips away at someone until they stop smiling through it. Am I the asshole? Absolutely not. You weren't cruel. You didn't show up empty-handed with an attitude. You weren't passive-aggressive. You simply matched the energy that's been thrown at your children for years. You've earned the right to pull back. And if anyone's upset, maybe they should start asking why this pattern started in the first place, not why you finally chose to stop participating in it. Because the moment you stop overextending yourself in a one-way relationship, the silence becomes louder. And if your family can't understand that, maybe they were never really showing up for your kids to begin with. You're not the villain. You're just done being the doormat. You are not the asshole. You're a mom who finally stopped clapping for a crowd that never clapped back. Am I the asshole for not letting my friend borrow one of my designer dresses for a wedding after she called me shallow for buying them? Let's talk about luxury for a second, not the glossy magazine version. No champagne flutes and soft focus lighting. I mean the real thing. Late nights grinding, saving every spare coin, finally clicking purchase on something that feels like an exclamation point on all your hard work. That moment you tear open the box, drape the fabric over your shoulders, and whisper, "Yeah, I earned this. I earned this." That's not vanity. That's victory stitched into silk. And that's exactly where we meet the writer, a 26-year-old woman who teaches her 9-to-5 discipline to kids all week, pays her bills on time, and spoils herself with a handful of designer dresses, hard-won trophies in her closet. Enter Lena, 27, the self-appointed judge of other people's spending habits. For years, every time Ryder rocked a little black dress or a scarlet showstopper, Lena had something to say. "I just don't get why anyone would waste that much money on fabric. I could never be that shallow." And, Ryder? She laughed it off at first, but those tiny paper cuts add up. You keep smiling, yet the sting stays. Fast forward. Lena lands an invite to a wedding and suddenly her tone changes. Ping, text on Ryder's phone. "Hey girl, can I borrow one of your dresses? You have so many, I figured you wouldn't mind." No apology, no acknowledgement of the non-stop shade, just entitlement wrapped in a casual request. And Ryder, exhaling slow, texts back, "Sorry, I don't lend out my designer pieces, especially when I'm not there to look after them." Simple, polite, boundary set. But Lena detonates. "Wow, selfish much? It's just a dress." Cue the chorus of mutual friends chiming in, painting Ryder as some materialistic dragon hoarding couture. Hold up, is it just a dress? Because here's what they don't see. Each stitch is a Friday night skipped, a side gig accepted, a credit card paid off. Those dresses aren't objects, they're receipts for Ryder's grind. And the person who mocked those victories now wants to waltz into a reception draped in them. Without the work, without the respect. Let's call this what it is, entitlement masquerading as friendship. Ryder never shamed Lena for bargain racks or thrift finds. She never sneered at Lena's choices. But Lena decided luxury equals shallowness until she needed luxury herself. And the kicker, if that dress came back stained, stretched, or mysteriously lost, we all know who'd foot the bill. Spoiler, not Lena. So am I the asshole? Am I asshole for saying no? Nope, because boundaries are not selfish. They're self-preservation. Lena wants the perks of Ryder's hustle without the respect, and that's not friendship, that's opportunism in high heels. If Lena can't handle the answer, maybe she should revisit her earlier opinions about wasting money on fabric. Either those dresses matter or they don't. She can't have it both ways. Ryder, you're not materialistic. You're meticulous. You earned those dresses. You protect them. End of story. If someone calls you shallow for treating yourself, hand them a mirror. They'll find the real depth problem there. Felt that? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe for more raw takes on real drama. Because sometimes it's not just a dress, it's a line you don't let anyone cross. Am I the asshole for being rude to the waiter and ruining the dinner? Imagine rolling into a casual sports bar / family restaurant on a random Thursday night, ready for greasy appetizers, bottomless sodas, and a gossip-heavy girls catch-up. That's the writer, 27, happily married, out with her two best friends, 26 and 29, who are both single and just want to blow off steam. They grab a booth, menus slap down, neon beer signs hum overhead. So far, so normal. Then the waiter shows up. Early 20s dude, hair gelled, charm dial cranked to 11, clearly convinced he's auditioning for the next season of Love Island. From the very first sentence, it's pure cheese. "Whoa, I didn't know models were coming tonight." Cue giggles from the single friends. The writer, immediate internal eye roll. She's not here for a live reenactment of a bad pickup artist podcast. She just wants mozzarella sticks and life updates. But fine, whatever, customers laugh, waiter moves on. Except he doesn't move on. Every refill, every plate drop, it's more of the same. Ladies, I might have slipped a little special something in those drinks to get the party started. Am I cutie enjoying the food? It's relentless. And sure, some diners love that flirty server shtick. Tips go up, selfies get snapped. But for the writer, massive ick. She's married, she's not flattered, she's trapped at a table where a stranger keeps sexual innuendoing her iced tea. Then it crosses the line from cringy to tone deaf. Her 29-year-old friend starts tearing up while venting about a fresh breakup. Raw, vulnerable moment. Our waiter swings by, sees the mascara streaks, and chirps, "Oh, don't cry for me, I'll be right back, sir." Read the room. That's the instant the writer snaps. Not a scene, not profanity, just that deadpan, sarcastic, "Ha!" No laugh. You know the meme. Quick chuckle, stone cold face. Message received. Waiter slinks off, dialed down to professional speed. Drinks still arrive, food still lands, but the improv flirting routine stops cold. Dinner proceeds. Nachos vanish, breakup friend calms, bills paid. End of story? Nope. Walking to the parking lot, the single friend's turn. You were kind of rude. He was just doing his job. You killed the vibe. Hold up. The writer's the bad guy? Because she quietly signaled enough after 20 minutes of unsolicited flirt bombing, complete with jokes about drugging drinks and mocking a woman's tears? Let's break this down. Intent versus impact. Maybe the waiter thought he was harmlessly charming. Impact? He made a paying customer uncomfortable and trivialized another's heartbreak. Professional boundaries. Good service, sexual overtones. Period. Suggesting you spiked a customer's drink? Hard stop. Rudeness scale. The writer didn't yell, curse, or stiff a tip. She gave a dry laugh and a look. That's garden variety please stop energy, not a public shaming. Friend dynamic. Single friends enjoyed the attention until it wasn't fun. When they felt secondhand awkward, they blamed the one who set the boundary instead of the guy crossing it. So, am I the asshole? No. The writer did the minimum to shut down behavior that made her and eventually her friends uncomfortable. A waiter's job is to read the table. When the table goes silent, you pivot, not double down. If someone has to choose between politeness and personal comfort, comfort wins. Verdict, not the asshole. The only thing ruined was the waiter's one-man flirt show, and honestly, that encore needed canceling. Am I the asshole for asking my husband to wash his hair before bed? Picture this. It's late at night. The house is quiet. The kids are asleep. Writer, exhausted from holding the entire fort down, is finally in bed, drifting off into a hard-earned sleep. She stayed behind so her husband could go out and enjoy himself at a birthday party. Not just a regular party either. There was a fire pit involved. And if you've ever been around a campfire, you know exactly what's coming next. He gets home. The smell walks in before he does. That dense, smoky, burnt wood scent that clings to fabric, to skin, and especially to long hair. And her husband? His hair isn't just long, it's waist length. That's a lot of smoke real estate. Now, he does shower, which you might think is considerate, but here's the kicker. He skips washing his hair, says it's not a wash day. And with zero hesitation, he climbs into bed beside Ryder like everything's fine. But it wasn't fine. Because that smoky scent, it fills the air. It hits like a wall. Imagine trying to sleep with your face buried in a pillow that smells like someone roasted marshmallows on your scalp. That's exactly the vibe. And it's her bed too. She tells him calmly that she can smell the smoke in his hair, that it's gonna get into the pillows, that it's keeping her awake. All she wants is for him to wash his hair before bed so she doesn't have to deal with the stink all night. He refuses, not even a compromise. Not even a, I'll tie it up or I'll sleep on the guest side. Just no. And you know what? That's when it shifts. That's when the whole thing stops being about hair and starts becoming about respect. So Ryder gets up, leaves her own bed, and sleeps in the guest room. And in the morning, she asks him to launder the pillows. You'd think that's a reasonable follow-up to a night of broken sleep and a smelly pillow. But no, he tells her she's overreacting. That she's making a big deal out of nothing. Let's pause here. She stayed home with the kids so he could go out. He comes home smelling like he fought a forest fire, wakes her up, refuses to fix the issue, and she's the one who has to relocate to get some sleep. And the next day, she's the dramatic one? Nah, that's not drama. That's setting a boundary. The pillows got washed. His hair eventually got washed. The air, literally and figuratively, is now clear. But there's still something lingering. Not smoke, resentment. Because it wasn't just about the smell. It was about the disregard, the lack of care, the refusal to even meet halfway. And here's the thing, when someone wakes you up in your own bed, makes you uncomfortable, and you're the one who has to leave, that's not partnership. That's selfishness dressed up in indifference. So, am I the asshole for asking him to wash his hair before bed? Not even close. She asked for something basic, respectful, hygienic, reasonable. He turned it into a power struggle. This isn't about shampoo. This is about consideration. And if anything, the real question here should be, why did he care more about his wash day schedule than the woman who gave up her night to let him enjoy his? Let that sink in. Let AITA for starting my daughter's B-Day party when my parents had not arrived. Let's paint the scene. The writer is a parent, a very patient one. The kind of person who plans ahead, who sends out birthday invites 2 months in advance, who follows up with phone calls just to make sure everyone's on the same page. You know, the kind of grown-up you want in charge when it's time to throw a 14-year-old's birthday party. But there's a complication. A time bomb, if you will. And that's the writer's parents. Now, we all know that one person who's always late, like clockwork level late. But the writer's parents, they don't just run late. They exist in a completely separate time zone. You could lie about the start time of the event and they'll still manage to mess that up too. And that's exactly what the writer had to do. So what do you do when you know someone's going to be late? You play them at their own game. The writer, sick of years of delayed dinners, missed toasts, and cake cuttings that start 2 hours too late, decides this year's birthday party for their daughter will go differently. The official party starts at 2 p.m. But when it comes to the writer's parents, they're told it starts at 1 p.m. It's not petty, it's survival. A preemptive strike in the war against chronic tardiness. And the writer doesn't just stop there. A week before the party, reminder call. The night before, another friendly reminder. No yelling, no guilt trips. Just, hey, don't forget, party starts at 1. So the day arrives, people are showing up, the energy is building, balloons are in place, food smells amazing. But guess who's missing? Yep, them. 1:15, no show. So the writer calls, and if they're on their way, the kicker, they live less than 10 miles away. 10 miles. That's a coffee run, not a road trip. But somehow their concept of time turns 10 miles into a saga. So by 2 p.m., when the actual party starts, the writer does what any sane parent would do. They serve the food. They let the fun begin. Because this isn't a hostage situation, it's a birthday party. And you're not about to let your daughter's big day revolve around people who can't be bothered to respect the time that was set and repeated. And then, finally, at 3 p.m., they show up. And they're not sheepish, not apologetic. Nope. They're pissed. Why didn't you wait for us? Oh, the irony. You tell them calmly, we thought you weren't coming. We told you 1, you didn't show by 2. What were we supposed to think? And their response? Well, when a party says it starts at a certain time, that's just when people are supposed to start arriving. The real event doesn't start until later. Excuse me? Since when does 2 p.m. sharp mean show up whenever you feel like it? That's not fashionably late. That's straight up disrespectful. And this is where the conversation hits a nerve, not just for the writer, but for anyone who's ever had to deal with that family member. The one who thinks the world's on their clock. The one who makes you feel like the problem for not rearranging your entire schedule around their lack of one. Let's be real. This isn't just about being late. This is about how some people consistently show you through their actions that your time, your plans, and your boundaries aren't as important as their comfort. It's about the quiet frustration that builds up after years of being the one who always has to compromise. So, Am I the asshole for starting my daughter's birthday party without my perpetually late parents? No, not even close. What the writer did wasn't petty. It was necessary. It was about protecting a moment that was supposed to be about their daughter, not anyone else's inability to respect a damn start time. And for the record, if anyone's showing up to a party an hour late and acting offended that it didn't stop everything and wait for them, that's not a guest, that's a disruption. So no, writer, you're not the villain. You're the one who finally said, this day isn't about waiting around anymore. It's about showing up for the people who actually matter. And that's the energy we all need to carry into every event from now on. Am I the asshole for ordering fries instead? All right, let's get straight to it. You've got a local spot, nothing fancy, just a family-run drive-in that's been doing burgers, hot dogs, fries, and soft-serve ice cream longer than some of these people complaining have been alive. It's not a five-star place. It's not a tourist trap. It's just that old-school joint you grew up going to. The kind of place that smells like fry oil and childhood. Now, here's where the drama kicks in. Every time the writer rolls up with a group, family, in-laws, friends, doesn't matter, they all order ice cream, like clockwork. That's their thing. Sundaes, dipped cones, milkshakes, basic sweet tooth unity. Meanwhile, the writer looks that menu square in the face and says, give me fries. Not because they're trying to be difficult, not because they want to be different for the sake of it, just because, damn it, they like fries. Salty, crispy, greasy comfort. Something warm, something golden. Maybe a hot dog too if the vibe's right. But here comes the problem. The ice cream comes out fast. Fries? Not so much. So while the writer's waiting those extra 5 to 10 minutes for the grease gods to do their work, everyone else is posted up by the car, clutching their cones like it's some Olympic relay and the writer just dropped the baton. And suddenly it's not just, oh, they ordered fries. It's, you always do this. Why can't you just get what we get? You're holding us up. We'd already be home if you weren't waiting for fries again. Excuse me? Are y'all serious? Nobody's starving. Nobody's late to a funeral. You're not out here waiting on a full course meal. It's a damn basket of fries. And yet somehow the writer becomes the villain for not falling in line with the soft serve sheep. Here's the kicker. The writer never asked them to wait. They don't beg people to sit around. They're not making a scene. They order, they pay, they mind their business. And still, they catch heat for it from multiple people over years of this same tired commentary over a few damn fries. Let's just say it plain. This isn't about fries. It's about control. It's about people getting uncomfortable when someone breaks the unspoken group rule. It's about that one person who doesn't do what everyone else does. And instead of letting that be, the group starts acting like they've been personally wronged, like a basket of fries is a betrayal. So am I the asshole for ordering fries instead? Hell no. What the writer did was have a craving and follow through. That's it. That's the whole crime. And if a group of grown adults can't wait 5 minutes without turning it into a personality flaw, then they're the ones being childish. So here's the verdict. Plain and raw, you're not the asshole. They just need to grow up and learn to let people enjoy things, even if those things come with ketchup and not sprinkles. Would I be the asshole if I refused to transfer shares in an apartment I inherited to my aunt, according to a deal she had with my late mother 16 years ago? 16 years. That's how long it's been since writer's mother passed away. And with her death came the weight of memory, grief, and legacy, including a share in a family apartment that's been quietly sitting like a landmine in the background, until now. Here's the situation. Back when writer's mother was alive, she and her sister, writer's aunt, apparently had a conversation. Not a deal on paper, not a signed contract, just a verbal understanding. They had the apartment valued. There was some vague talk of the aunt buying her out. Maybe it was casual, maybe it was real. But let's be clear, nothing was ever finalized. No documents, no notarized agreement, No mention of the apartment in the will, not a single official footprint. It's as if the supposed deal evaporated into thin air the moment Ryder's mother passed. But grief doesn't stop real estate from becoming complicated. Shortly after the funeral, Ryder's aunt reached out, not to console, not to share in the mourning, but to discuss what records Ryder needed to send her for the transfer of the inherited share. Except she didn't have the money to buy it out. So it was basically, hey, I know your mother just died, but let's go ahead and give me that property share. I'll pay you, eventually. Over the next decade, a few mentions here and there, loose promises, casual statements like, we still need to sort out the apartment and I owe you something, but always vague, always non-specific, the kind of communication that never holds up in court or even in conscience. The last time anything was said in writing, over 10 years ago. Fast forward to now. Ryder's aunt is older, facing major health problems. Retirement is looming and her financial situation, bleak. That's when she comes back with renewed urgency. She wants Ryder's share transferred to her. But here's the kicker. She wants to pay Ryder based on the valuation from 16 years ago. Let that sink in. 16 years ago, the market was entirely different. The value of that apartment has skyrocketed, quadrupled, in fact. It's not some small gain. We're talking about serious money, life-changing money. And she wants Ryder to just ignore all of that and accept the long-expired ghost of a verbal agreement she allegedly had with someone who is no longer alive to verify it. Why? Because she had a deal with Ryder's mother. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. That deal died with her. If it was so important, so binding, why didn't it make it into the will? Why wasn't it ever put on paper? Why has the aunt waited over a decade and a half to act on it? And now that she's facing hardship, she wants to turn that old conversation into a moral obligation for Ryder, as if it's their responsibility to make up for the fact that this was never properly handled. It's brutal, it's emotional, it's complicated. But here's what it's not. Fair. Yes, the aunt is struggling. Yes, she's aging and sick. That matters. It really does. But here's the part people don't say out loud enough. Ryder didn't create that situation. Ryder didn't delay the deal. Ryder didn't choose not to formalize anything. Ryder inherited a mess and is now being pressured to sacrifice their financial future because someone else failed to do things the right way. Let's be real. If this apartment were worth less today than it was 16 years ago, would the aunt still want to stick to that old valuation? Or would she suddenly demand it reflect the current market? That answer tells you everything. So, would I be the asshole if I stood my ground and demanded to be paid according to the current market value? Hell no. That's not cruelty. That's not greed. That's common sense. That's self-respect. This isn't about taking advantage. It's about not being taken advantage of. And the guilt trip, the health issues, the retirement problems, that's emotional leverage, not logic. It's heartbreaking, but it's not a reason to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars here, worth of value just to honor a deal never yours to begin with. This is the cost of unfinished business. This is what happens when people don't write things down. And now, Ryder's being asked to pay that cost in full out of their own pocket. So, would I be the asshole for refusing to transfer the apartment share unless I'm paid fairly? No. You'd just be the one person in this story willing to do what others wouldn't, and protect your future while everyone else tries to guilt you into giving it away. Am I the asshole for having fun at a beach while my friends waited in a Wendy's for 3 hours? All right, let's set the stage. 7 friends, a beach trip, good vibes. That rare moment when adulthood pauses just enough for people to actually coordinate schedules, money, time off, and gas tank levels. That alone is a miracle. The plan? 2 full days of sun, waves, sand, fun. The kind of memories people post on their stories with sunset filters and chill music. Ryder? They were the one who booked the rental van, $571, fronted the cost with the usual, you guys can pay me back later understanding. No problem. Another friend covered the $12 and $22 hotel, same deal. Everyone's cool. That's how friendship works when you're grown-ish and broke-ish. Day 1, solid. Everybody hit the beach, soaked up the sun, probably got sand in every possible crevice, and felt alive. That's what beach days are for. But then came day 2, and oh, that's when the cracks started showing. Suddenly, 4 of the 7 friends decided they were over the beach. No sand, no water, no ocean. Instead, they wanted to walk around the city. Okay, that's fair. Not everyone's a beach bum. That's cool. You do your thing. Meanwhile, Ryder and 2 others still had the ocean in their eyes and salt water in their veins. They wanted one last swim before heading back to the real world. But here's the catch. They had the keys to the rental van because, of course, they were the only ones in the group who could legally drive it. So they hit the beach just like they planned and went into the water. The agreed upon departure time? 7 p.m. Simple enough, but somewhere around 4:57 p.m., things flipped. The non-beach group started calling multiple times. 5 missed calls. No texts, no emergency messages, just a string of missed calls. But Ryder and their friends, they were still in the water, blissfully unaware, probably catching waves and soaking up that last bit of peace before the drive home. They didn't check their phones until 5:43 p.m. That's when they saw the storm brewing. The others, furious, tired, and apparently sitting in a Wendy's for 3 whole hours, claiming they were too exhausted to walk anywhere else or wait outside. Let's break this down for a second. They decided they didn't want to do the beach. Fine, they chose the city walk route. That's their prerogative. But instead of spending their time exploring, chilling at a coffee shop, or even hanging by the boardwalk, they parked themselves in a Wendy's like it was some kind of punishment. Then blamed Ryder for it? Meanwhile, Ryder and the other 2, they get out the water, see the missed calls, and do what? They still go grab food, because guess what? They were hungry, and it was still before 7 p.m., the time they'd all agreed to. They pull up at exactly 7 on time. Nobody's late. No one broke the plan. They stuck to the timeline. They didn't ditch anyone. They didn't abandon the group. They just had fun. And now one of the friends is giving Ryder the cold shoulder like they ruined the entire trip. Let's be real here. Who sits in a Wendy's for 3 hours without saying, hey, let's Uber somewhere, or let's call a different friend, or even let's go back to the hotel lobby? Nope. They sat there stewing in beef grease and spite, and now Ryder's the villain because they didn't play along with that passive-aggressive pity party. This isn't about being left behind. This is about entitlement. They didn't want to go to the beach, but expected the ones who did to cut their day short because they got bored. That's not a friendship issue. That's a me-first issue. Ryder upheld their end of the deal. They were back at the van on time. They didn't ignore anyone out of malice. They just didn't see the calls until it was too late. And let's be honest, if you're not willing to enjoy yourself on a beach trip because the van keys are 30 minutes away, that's not on Ryder. That's on your lack of creativity. So, am I the asshole for having fun at the beach while my friends sat in a Wendy's for 3 hours? Absolutely not. Ryder didn't ditch anyone. They didn't disrespect the plan. They simply enjoyed what was left of a planned trip that everyone agreed to. The ones fuming in the fast food booth, they made their own choice to wait in place, stew in frustration, and create a narrative that doesn't hold up under the sun. This isn't a story about abandoning friends. This is a story about how some people can't handle other people having fun without them. And that's not your guilt to carry. AITA for telling a girl she's not coming to the bachelorette because she can't afford it after she kept changing her mind and having other people speak for her. All right, buckle up, because this isn't just some bridezilla drama or group chat pettiness. This is a slow-burning storm of financial tension, passive aggression, and emotional gymnastics, all unfolding over what should have been a fun bachelorette trip. The writer is the maid of honor, captain of the chaos, the one stuck wrangling 18 grown adults and coordinating a multi-day trip. She took initiative early. Back in January, she set the tone, created a group chat, dropped $7,000 of her own money for the Airbnb, let that sink in, and gave everyone until March to cough up $375. Clear, organized, fair. Fast forward to now, just weeks before the trip, and the real mess begins. Girl A, who who we'll just call the wild card, texts the writer out of nowhere. Hey, I didn't realize we were going to have to send more money on top of the $375 we sent. I just moved into my first apartment and I have no money to give at the moment or in the next couple of months. I definitely cannot afford it right now. Do you want to just give me the $375 back, or is there something we can do for me to still go? Okay, pause. This is classic ambiguity with a side of entitlement. That do you want to just give me the $375 back line? That's not a genuine request. That's an indirect attempt to bounce out without owning the decision. But fine. The writer, being fair and frankly more patient than most would be, refunds her, reruns all the math for the new total, updates the group. That should be the end of it, right? Wrong. Because the very next day, another girl, girl B, hits the writer up saying she and A want to come for just Saturday now. Wait. What? So now the writer, yet again, is recalculating, adjusting headcounts, changing costs, bending over backwards for someone who already backed out. Then another bridesmaid tells her that girl C got contacted by girl D, who's asking on behalf of A for an extension. Like, what? Can't message directly. But D can send a courier pigeon to C, who tells the court jester to relay it to the queen? Nah. The writer has had enough of playing telephone over someone else's money problems, so she texts A directly. Hey, I'm honestly confused. You said you couldn't pay, asked for your $375 back. Then B says you want to come just for Saturday. Now D is asking for an extension for you. Every time this changes, I have to redo all the numbers, and it's a lot. Can you let me know your final decision? Seems reasonable, right? And then A hits her with the gaslight special. I didn't say I wanted the money back. I said, or is there something we can do? I didn't ask B to ask you. They just want me to go. I'll do what they say. Thanks. No accountability, just vibes. So the writer snaps a little. Not mean, just real. She lays it out. You literally said, I definitely cannot afford it for the next couple months. That is asking out. And you didn't suggest a plan. You didn't ask for a payment extension. You asked for an exit door. And here's where it all hits the fan, because now A flips it, calls the writer rude, says there was no warning about price increases, despite a clearly structured budget, and throws out that classic manipulative grenade. I'll just tell bride you were mean and that's why I'm not going. No, no, no. Let's call it what it is. You're not going because you couldn't afford it and didn't have the guts to say so directly. The writer finishes it with a dagger of truth. You're not going because you can't afford it. And that's the truth. This isn't about being rude. This isn't about budget confusion. This is about emotional labor, people-pleasing burnout, and the constant, exhausting expectation that the responsible person will always bend to accommodate the flaky ones. So, is the writer the asshole? Absolutely not. She gave timelines, she gave payment plans, she gave people months of notice. She didn't kick anyone out, didn't shame anyone for financial issues. She just asked for honesty and finality. What she got instead was smoke signals, middlemen, and guilt tripping from people who can't take no like adults. This whole situation shows how quickly the cool girl energy turns into bad guy the minute you stop letting people walk all over you. So to the writer, you're not the asshole. You're the one holding the entire trip together while dodging emotional landmines. And to girl A, if you're gonna bail, just own it. Don't send the cavalry in your place and then cry victim when someone finally tells it like it is.